Hey folks, welcome back. It's a nice and rainy day here in northern Kentucky today. If you're like me and you watch a lot of YouTube videos, carving videos, you'll see a lot of use of boiled linseed oil. And this is the product that I talked about in my last video that I was waiting on. Was kind of excited to get it, to be able to try it out, as I've seen so many good things about it and heard so many good things about it. So today I'm going to give some few pros and cons and a few before and after videos or photos, and I hope you stick around to see what this stuff's all about. If you haven't seen it before, you haven't used it before, but chances are you have. This is my take on boiled linseed oil, and I haven't even tried it yet, so we get into it, and I'll give you some of my thoughts about it, and stick around. So I put the linseed oil in a jar just because it's got a wider mouth. It came in a can that had about an inch wide mouth on it, so I thought putting it in a bigger jar would be easier to access. So what we're going to do is just start painting this guy down, getting in all the little crannies. I can already see the difference in the color. Quite a bit darker, and this is just boiled linseed oil. This is no color added. Some of those guys that you watch add color, and we might try that later, at a later time, but I just wanted to see what this was all about. And see how much of an effect on the painting that it actually has. I thought it might have a strong odor to it, but to this point it's just very, very faint. I can barely even smell it. All right, there's one guy. And be sure that you read the directions of use on this stuff. It's got some flammable properties to it that you need to take heed to. So make sure that you read the directions of Again, can already tell quite a bit of difference in the darkness. I'm thinking that if I had added color to this, like some of the guys do, it's really going to show up darker. Let's go and paint the bottoms of these two. Lay them down so they bottoms can dry. But the more, if you're like me, the more these videos that you watch, the carving and then the painting as well, the more you see talk of this boiled linseed oil. So I was very intrigued. And started to think that my painting could use all the help that it can get, because the paintings that I had seen on carvings were they really looked nice and clean and clear. So I thought it was time that I should try this out. All right. Let's let those dry up, and I'll show you some before and after on just the linseed oil. All right, folks, when we put the boiled linseed oil on these three guys here, we put full strength boiled linseed oil. Now, the directions on the boiled linseed oil can say that you should mix 2 parts mineral spirits with 1 part linseed oil. So that's what we've done here, and that's what we're going to put on the pirate and on the little old bearded man. Okay, and you can tell it's much thinner, as I expected. So we'll see what this guy looks like now. And right off the bat, I can tell it's going to be a little bit lighter, but really brings out the depth of the cuts. As the antiquing that I use a lot does. And this is an odorless mineral spirit, so I Actually got a good smell to it. And the directions do ask that you only mix what you intend to use. And I'm sure that's because of the nature of the product and it being flammable. So hopefully we've got just enough to do, or close, do the bearded man and the pirate. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the bottom also. We're just going to soak up a bunch. If we can't get it good and spread it out so we don't have to mix a bunch more. And what I did when I mixed it was I poured in just a little tiny bit of mineral spirits into the jar, and then I used the brush to just dip in the amount of linseed oil that I wanted. So this is going to come out pretty close. Now we'll give it some drying time and bring them back, put them side by side, and see how it looks. Alright guys, so these on this side have full strength linseed oil, boiled linseed oil. These two on this side have the 2-to-1 mixture of mineral spirits to linseed oil. 2 parts mineral spirits, 1 part linseed oil. And these little guys here in the middle don't have anything. So there's your differences, or your outcomes, if you want to call it that. To me, what I see is not a lot of difference between these and these. There's a little, probably can't see it on camera, and this one's a little dark, I think, because of my lighting in here. But these are a little bit darker, and these looks to me like it pulls out more of the wood grain if you use just the boiled linseed oil and nothing to cut it with. So that's my opinion completely. But if you're like me and you want products out there that will give you advantages to helping your carvings look better, and that's what I was after here. I'm just looking for something that is going to enhance the look, and learning some things along the way, and I hope you are too. So if you haven't used it before, like I haven't, this is the first time I've attempted to use this product. But it does give it a pretty look, even with just, if I left these just the way they are, I'd be satisfied with the way they look. But I am going to go ahead and paint, because this one was a video that I just recently did, and this one was as well. So I'm at least going to paint this one, and we'll see after that. Drying time on this stuff, it's really not clear about how long you should wait until you do anything else with it. So I'll let you be your own judge there. I'm gonna let it. I'm gonna let these dry a couple of hours, and they've already dried a couple of hours. And I'm gonna go paint this little guy now after it's been drying for a couple of hours. So anyway, and I did add a little bit of, if you watched this video on this little guy, I added a belt on the back side of him and some coat texture there, wrinkles, and a little curve on the bottom side of his coat at the ground. So anywho, we'll get started painting this guy. And this is just a drop of black, straight black with 5 or 6 drops of water. It still soaks it up a little bit. But you know, the real, and I really do like the look of just the linseed oil by itself. I like that darkening and the wood grain look. But this is the real reason. I want to see what it's going to look like after that it's got linseed oil and then painted. That's my ultimate goal here. All right, let me stop this and I'll put some more black in here and we'll get back to it. And I thought about a different color for a hat. But if it is a pirate, then it probably, the most obvious choice for hat color is going to be black. I've looked at enough pirate hats in the last couple of days to last me for a while. Okay, right off the bat, one of the differences that I see is the color of the wood that shows through is darker. So that's going to be an obvious difference. We might have to trim off a little bit of this black from his head, because I'm gonna looks like I'm gonna bleed some over. But that's okay. So I'd heard a lot of the carvers that I listen to and watch and follow have talked about this boiled linseed oil. And if you like the look of someone's carvings, you'd like to try to make yours look that way as well. You want your own style, but you want them to look as good as they possibly can, especially when it comes to after carving. Carving is one thing, painting's a little bit different. You want those things that are out there and available to make them look better. I do myself. I'd like for them to look as good as they can. Most people would. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to use the black on his belt also. And it was another thing that I noticed is the paint does not soak in, obviously, like it would if it was bare wood. Excuse me. And this little guy right here is part of his belt too. I'm going to have to get out the little brush for this. And I'll probably speed this up because it's going to take me a little while to get it all where I want it. Now we're going to put a little bit of blue on his shirt on the inside. And for his jacket, I've got it's called Spice Berry. It looks kind of like a burgundy. That's what I'm going to use on this jacket. I'm going to have a different brush. Coat. I shouldn't have said jacket. I should say coat. As this goes all the way to the floor. Okay. Let's see if we can't give this blue a little extra color. I think I watered it down just a little much. I even want to remix it a little. Or just add another drop of blue into it. I wanted it to be kind of almost a bright blue. So let's start over here for now. I don't want it to be purple though. I wanted it to be very blue. There you go. Well, that's not about very blue, but it's more blue. Okay, for that mustache, I've got a drop of white in here and 7 or 8 drops of water. So, let's see what we come up with here. Hoping to get it bleeding through so it's not completely white. We don't have to put any other colors on it to make it look an off-white or a grayish white. It might work out. I believe it will. So the biggest advantage that I see so far over not using anything at all, using the boiled linseed oil, is the fact that sorry, I'm concentrating. I don't want to get it on his face. I think I might have. No, but the biggest advantage I see is that the paint doesn't get absorbed by the wood. If I had not put the linseed oil on here, I probably would have had to have put 3 or 4 coats of paint on it just to make it look halfway right. All right. That's a pretty good color. May not have to put any more colors in that white to make it look right. All right, let's see if we can get a little brown on these pants. And I didn't water the brown down as much. But I probably will on the shoes. I'm going to use the same color and just water the shoe color down. All right, so let's take a little bit of off-white. And just cover this round eye area. I think I hear a woodpecker. I know I hear a woodpecker. Okay, there's step one. Let's get this dried up. Okay, now we're going to take a little blue, and I've watered it down just a little bit. And I'm going to go over almost all of the white area. And you can see it's trying to run a little bit, so I'm going to dry that and then thicken up the blue paint. So after I dried it real good, I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to use the same paint on the other side. It is a little bit thin, but I think it's going to work out. So, lesson learned. Probably don't need to go with very much water at all when you're using this eye color. Because we're gonna put black for pupils on the inside after we get the blue dried up. You can keep it from running. Big blue eyes. So now let's take a little bit of black. Let's go in the center. And what I like to do is start small and work my way out. Okay, so now let's give him just plain white, straight white. Give him a little sparkle.